So today's topic is going to be very interesting because in today's video I'm going to talk about how this book, this book right here, changed my perspective about life and all things about life and consciousness in general. And the book is Notes from Underground from Fyodor Dostoevsky. And this book from Dostoevsky has changed how I look at life. Right, and when I first finished reading this book, right, I had a lot of thoughts in my mind. Literally, this book actually flipped how I think about life. I'll tell you how. This video, in like a short context, is going to be about self-consciousness, right, and how self-conscious you are, and how self introspective you are. The character in this book is the epitome of being self-conscious, or in regards, he's too self-conscious. Right? I'll give you a basic idea of this book, not spoiling in any way. I think you should read this book ASAP. Right? You should read this book, and I would not recommend starting Dostoevsky with Notes from Underground, but I think it's a very good book to start getting into Dostoevsky, right? Our main character is self-aware, like a lot. He's a self-aware, but like not in a healthy way. He observes himself constantly. He judges himself constantly, right? Every step, everything that he does, he judges himself and thinks himself. He questions himself on everything that he does. And when even the smallest action, like even drinking from a glass of water, thinks about it, and never quite take those steps. And a simple task as to drinking a glass of water becomes very difficult. We usually think that being self-aware is a good thing, right? And it is a good thing. It is a very good thing to be self-aware, right? It gives you this perspective on how you present yourself, how you look, and how you feel. Being self-conscious makes you realize how you feel in the moment. When you become too self-aware or too self-conscious, right, you overthink even the smallest of things. Even if I say a word, how I'm gonna look in front of others. Even if I do a certain thing which nobody gives a damn about, how I'm gonna look in that person's eyes, right? That's how self-conscious people or self-awareness people feel in general. And at that moment, you're not even living your own life. You are in a performance, right? You don't even live your own life. You live in performance. You perform in front of others. You do not live your own life. When you overthink your actions too much, then take a step, and that step is likely going to be so performative because it does not come from a natural self. And it does not come with a natural expression. It does not come with a natural expression of how you are, like what you need to express yourself. When you think, when you're too self-conscious or self-aware, right, you just stop and you think about your actions, and then you take those actions instead of being naturally of how you would react to things, right? Instead of that, you just react performatively, seeing life from a very third perspective, right? You're not even looking at from your perspective, or the person you're talking, or looking at from a very third perspective, right? Like follow this train of thought for a while, right? Like performing this action of performing. At that point, you're not even living your own life. You're just performing for other people. It's like you're on a stage where everyone is watching you, right? And that's a very bad feeling to have, right? And that is not true at all. Nobody cares that much for the need to care about you that much. So you need to stop performing and start living your own life, and stop being too self-aware. Stop overthinking things. It is very common in like today's world, as everyone gives advice and everyone gives free advice as to you should do this, you should do that, and nobody tells us like how we should do it, like what are the steps. And when you read this book, you realize man lives in underground basement. Title of the book is also Notes from Underground. He lives in underground cell, literally, but it also has a meaning metaphorically, like as in he lives in his own cell of a mind. He lives in underground state of his own mind, right? He overthinks, right? He overthinks, he overdoubts, he overanalyzes things. And he's being stuck in his own head. That's the premise of this book, and it's just true for like half of us. We're stuck inside our own head, we're stuck inside of our own thoughts. Instead of taking the action, we overthink, you overthink everything, right? And not quite get to the action of it. Get into the spiral of things. You have already overanalyzed every situation, and then you most likely get to predict what is going to be outcome of this. Every possible outcomes feels uncomfortable, or rather feels foreign, and then you'll never take those decisions. You just keep going around in this spiral of thinking. When I read this book, I related not to that extent. When I read the actual book, you'll realize how fucked the man from the underground is. But I've related to that character very much, right? Because from a very young age, I've been too self-conscious. Like people say I'm a lot mature as to what my age is, right? And when I read this book, I realized that I relate to this character very much. Is because I am also very too self-aware. I would not say I'm too self-conscious, but yeah, I'm very self-aware about myself, and how I feel, and things of that nature. I drew few conclusions from this. My instinct is to live, to express what I've been doing. Like half of the while is just being stuck in the thought of it. When I wanted to start this YouTube channel, it's been 4 years since I wanted to start YouTube. Now, when I put out my first video, it was just like, fuck it, bro. I'm just gonna go ahead and record. That's just how I wrote it. Like, I acted on my instinct. Then I realized I need to get out of the thought spiral and just act on instinct. My instinct was to just go ahead and just say fuck it and go ahead and record content. And that's what I did. Right? And look how it turned out to be. Like, it's very awesome, right? If you also think you are too self-conscious, you're too self-aware, you only need to do one thing, which is act on your damn instinct. When you act on your instinct, that's when you express who you truly are, instead of performing for this world, instead of performing for others, instead of going into that thought spiral. You need to just act. Right? If you think you want to do something, you want to go to the gym, just go off already. There's no need to think about it twice. Right? If you want to take a decision, I would not recommend anyone to just go ahead and take random decisions in life, which you take horrible decisions. Right? I do not recommend anyone to take horrible decisions in life. What I'm telling you to do, life is not meant to be observed from outside. It is to be lived. Your life is meant to be lived. Act on your instinct. If you're stuck in this thought spiral, if you're stuck in this self-conscious loop, act on your instinct. And also go around, read this book, Notes from Underground, Dostoevsky. Great book. And I think that's it for this video. Satharva. Peace out.